Hello students, so welcome back to the channel. In this video we are going to discuss about the anatomy of flowering plant. We'll be discussing about the tissues, especially meristematic tissues, what are the characteristics, how we classify them, and how the shoot apex and root apex organization is done. So now see, first of all, if you see, the father of plant anatomy is Anne Grove. He is the one who is father of plant anatomy, but father of Indian plant anatomy is K.A. Chaudhary. Okay, beta. Then Catherine Isau, she is the one who has written the book. That book name is Anatomy of Seed Plant. Okay, this is the book name, Anatomy of Seed Plant, and it was published in year 1960. And it is also known as Webster of Plant Biology. The data regarding to this scientist, it is given in your introduction of the chapter, introduction of this unit especially, you can see, and you'll be finding this given on the page number 64. Okay, so on the page 64, this book name is given and it is also known as Webster of Plant Biology. So these are the introduction. Now let us see what type of plant tissues are there. First of all, we'll study what is tissue means. Now see, tissues means it is a group of a cell which are similar or dissimilar in shape. Okay, beta? They can be similar in shape or dissimilar in shape, but they have common origin and usually they perform common function. So tissue is nothing, they are group of a cell which are having common origin and they perform common function. Plant tissues are classified into two categories. One is your meristematic tissues, another is your permanent tissue. The two categories are there, meristematic tissues and permanent tissues, depending upon the capability of division. The meristematic tissues are the one which are having the capacity to divide. They will divide, okay? As a result, the cells are immature, but the permanent cells are one which have lost the capacity to divide. Means now these cells will not divide. As a result, they are mature cells. Now let us see what are the characteristics of meristematic cells. First of all, meristematic cells, they are isodiametric. Isodiametric means they will be generally in the oval shape and everywhere you count the diameter will be same only. They will be having thin cell wall. Means the cell wall is only made up of cellulose. Means only primary cell wall will be there. There will be no secondary cell wall. The primary cell wall is present but secondary cell wall is absent. Okay, intracellular spaces are absent between the cells. Intercellular spaces are absent. And if we see the cell, then in the cell what we are finding, this cell, let us see, and this is the nucleus is big in size. So nucleus is big in size. Is it clear? So we will say nucleocytoplasmic ratio is high. Nucleocytoplasmic ratio. Clear? We can represent it this way. Nucleus to cytoplasm, this ratio is actually high. The same way we are finding they are having area to volume ratio also very high. Area to volume ratio is also very high. Inside the cell, we will find they are having dense cytoplasm. And dense cytoplasm means vacuole is absent. The vacuole is absent there. Clear? Then they don't have plastids. Plastids are absent. Plastid means chloroplast, the one which is responsible for doing photosynthesis. The plastids are absent. The simple logic, when plastids are absent, the storage food is also not there. So storage is also not there. When they can't store the food, they will not store the ergastic substance also. I'm writing the 9th point here. Ergastic substance storage will also be not there. Is it clear? So these are the characteristics of the meristematic cells. See beta, this is important. Classification of meristem on the basis of position, on the basis of origin, on the basis of plane of division, and on the basis of function. Now see one thing. You try to understand, let us assume this is your shoot apex. Okay. And few part this area, you are finding the tip area. The cells are meristematic. So we will call it as apical meristem. Now, in between these are your permanent cells. part of the apical meristem is left behind. This is the part of apical meristem which is left behind in between the two permanent tissues. Okay, this is P means permanent. So this part of apical meristem which is left behind is known as intercalary meristem. Intercalary meristem. So first is your apical meristem, second is your intercalary meristem. Is it clear? Now see, another type of meristem which is present on the side. This is known as lateral meristem. So three types of meristems are there depending upon position. First is your apical meristem, second is your intercalary meristem, third is your lateral meristem. Is it clear? Apical meristem will be responsible for increasing in length. Intercalary is also responsible for increasing in length. Lateral is responsible for increasing in width, also known as girth. Next, apical meristem will not be consumed. It is always present, but intercalary meristem is short-lived. Okay, intercalary meristem, we say it is short-lived. And lateral meristem is also known as cylindrical meristem. This is again the word is given in your NCERT. Lateral meristem is also known as cylindrical meristem. Intercalary is known as short-lived. Why? Because later or sooner it will be consumed. Is it clear? Later or sooner it will be consumed. Now main thing is this, try to understand intercalary meristem is found in, I'm writing it this side, you can see, intercalary meristem is found at the base of the node. In sugarcane, this is one example I'm giving you. Then it is also found in the sporophyte of Anthoceros. It is found in sporophyte of Anthoceros. If you remember the plant kingdom, in the plant kingdom, bryophyte classes, Anthoceropsida, its sporophyte is divided into foot, intercalary meristem, and capsule. So intercalary meristem is present there also. Then it is present in the equisetum also. Okay, it is present at the node of equisetum. So it is present in the bryophyte, it is present in pteridophyte, and now see the gymnosperm. It is present at the base of the leaf in gymnosperms. At the base of leaf in gymnosperm. Clear, beta? And gymnosperm example is spinous. So intercalary meristem, this is very important. Please try to understand. Intercalary meristem is first of all short-lived. Why? Because it will be later on becoming permanent only. And every time new will be made because apical cell will be always there. They are not short-lived. They are always everlasting. And the part of the apical meristem left behind will be known as intercalary, and slowly, slowly, they'll be getting permanent also. And these are the positions where we find them. Is it clear? Now, if you have seen the herbivores eating the grass, but grass is not getting damaged because grass does not have apical meristem. Again, it is very important. Grasses don't have apical meristem. That is why they are not getting damaged when the herbivores are consuming. And their growth is maintained with the help of intercalary meristem. Is it clear? Now, lateral meristem is cylindrical meristem. An example of lateral meristem is your cork cambium and your vascular cambium. Let me write it. Example of lateral meristems are your vascular cambium and cork cambium. So I think so this is clear, the position of the, depending upon the position, how we are classifying the meristematic tissue. Now let us see on the basis of origin. Now on the basis of origin, meristematic tissues are only of two types. Primary meristem, which is present from the beginning. And from the beginning, which is present, you know very well, it is apical and intercalary. So apical meristem and intercalary meristem. So this is primary meristem. Then is secondary meristem. Secondary meristem is the one which is made by the dedifferentiation of the permanent cells. The secondary meristem is the one which is made by the dedifferentiation of the permanent cell. Let me explain you. See, this is your meristematic cell. Try to understand. When the meristematic cell becomes permanent, then this process is known as differentiation. Okay, beta? And when permanent cell again become meristematic, let us say this permanent cell again become meristematic. Okay, then this meristem is secondary meristem, because second time it is becoming meristematic now. So secondary meristem, and this process by which its nature is removed, differentiation nature is removed, then this is known as de-differentiation. Is it clear? It is known as de-differentiation. Understood? So what is differentiation? Meristematic cell becoming permanent is known as differentiation. And when permanent cell again become meristematic, then we say de-differentiation. So based on the origin, there are only two types of meristem. One is primary meristem and second is secondary meristem. Is it clear? Now let us see based on the plane of division. This is a plane of division. There are again three types are there. Try to understand. First is your rib meristem. For rib meristem, you try to understand one diagram. Imagine this is your cell, epidermal cell, and it has to give rise to root here. Okay. So branches are coming. So see here, this root branches has to come. So initially this short, then slowly root branches will elongate in this direction only. Na? So branches is actually, in this case, what is going on? Cell is dividing only in one plane. It means every time the cell is dividing only in one plane means outside. Okay. The rib meristem means cell divide in one plane. Understood explanation? Then is plate meristem. Plate meristem means cell will divide in two plane. Try to understand. See, this was your initially one young leaf. Okay. Now it will divide in this direction also and it will divide in this plane also. So slowly what will happen? This young leaf will become, see, the size is increasing. And size is increasing not only in this direction, it is increasing in this direction also not. So plate meristem means division in two plane. Okay. Two plane. And third is mass meristem, division in any plane, randomly, to make a plant body that is known as cortex. So here we will say any plane. Now last is on the basis of the functions. On the basis of function, actual classification is, this was, you can say, let us assume this is your shoot apex. Okay, these three layers. So now see, this is your protoderm, which is giving rise to epidermis. This is your ground meristem, which is giving rise to ground tissue. And this is your procambium, which is giving rise to primary xylem and primary phloem. It gives rise to primary xylem and primary phloem. Please, it is now, this is very important question area because I told you vascular cambium. This is a PMT question. Which cambium gave rise to primary vascular bundle? So your answer will go procambium. And which cambium give rise to secondary vascular bundle? Then your answer will go vascular cambium. I hope you are able to understand what I'm focusing. Please understand the difference between procambium and vascular cambium. Procambium will give rise to primary vascular bundle, okay? And vascular cambium will give rise to secondary vascular bundle. Is it clear, beta? Any doubt, then ask. I hope this topic is clear to you. And if you see in your NCERT, In your page 85, in the root apex diagram 6.1, protoderm NCERT has mentioned. Okay, and NCERT has mentioned the term, instead of procambium, they have used the term, let me highlight that term also so that it will be easy for you to learn it. They've used the term center cylinder. Okay, they have used the term central cylinder. Check in your NCERT, you will find it is from the line of diagram based NCERT. Okay, this is the way how you have to prepare. So I hope up till your topic is clear. Now see, organization of shoot apex. Different scientists give different theories. So I just highlighted the theories, okay, because I have to teach it. So first is your apical cell theory. And apical cell theory was given by Nagle. So apical cell theory was given by Nagle and Hofmeister. And it is given by Hofmeister. Is clear? And this theory is not applicable for higher plants. It is applicable only for the bryophytes, some pteridophytes and some algae only. So it is applicable only for few lower plants. For few lower plants. And lower plants means some algae like your fucus, dictyota, and some bryophytes and some pteridophytes only. Okay. The next theory was tunica corpus theory. Second theory was tunica corpus theory. And this theory was given by Schmidt. This theory was given by Schmidt. And according to this theory, the shoot apex is having only two layers. According to this theory, shoot apex is having only two layers. Outside is, this is tunica, which is going to give rise to only epidermis. And this is corpus, which is going to give rise to ground tissue as well as vascular tissue. But this theory is also not valid because we don't believe in this theory also. Okay. Now, which theory is more applicable? Applicable theory is histogen theory. Theory was given by Hanston. And according to him, the shoot apex, okay, the shoot apex is actually differentiated into three layers. It is differentiated into three layers. This is dermatogen, which is going to give rise to epidermis. This is your periblam, which is going to give rise to ground tissue. And this is plerome, which is going to give rise to vascular tissue. So histogen theory is applicable. We are believing in histogen theory. Is it clear? Now let us see the root apex organization. Now, according to the root apex, histogen theory is also valid here. So histogen theory is the important theory, again valid here. Histogen theory, which is given by Hanston. And according to him, this is the root apex. Let me draw the root apex. You know very well, root apex. It is having root cap also. Okay, so this is root cap. And root cap is known as calyptra. So according to histogen theory, this is dermatogen. And dermatogen will give rise to epiblemma, because in the root we use word epiblemma for epidermis. Epiblemma plus root cap. Okay, beta. This is your periblam, which is going to give rise to ground tissue. And this is plerome, which is going to give rise to vascular tissue. Now, one modification is there. Histogen theory is different in the dicot as well as in case of monocot. So now let me give you the idea. See. Now see class, this is given of the right now what I have explained you, it is of dicot. And how many histogens I have drawn? I have drawn only 3 histogen. One is dermatogen, second is periblam, third is plerome. Now see in case of monocot. Check the diagram. Diagram will not change, but the histogens number will be changing. Now this is going to be given by the calyptrogen. Calyptrogen will give rise to root cap. Okay, this is going to give rise to root cap. Dermatogen will give rise to epidermis. Remaining will be same. Okay, and periblam will give rise to vascular tissue. Periblam will give rise to ground tissue, sorry. It will give rise to ground tissue. And plerome will give rise to vascular tissue. Okay, beta. So there are 4 histogen in case of the monocot root. In case of monocot root, there are 4 histogens. What are 4 histogen? Number 1 is calyptrogen. Number 2 is dermatogen. Number 3 is periblam. And number 4 is plerome. Okay. Calyptrogen, dermatogen, and plerome. So I hope this is clear. How many estrogen? Let me write once again. Here we have to focus, only 3 estrogens are there, and here total 4 estrogen is there. Now let us see the shoot apex and root apex. One more thing. One is quiescent center in the root apex. It was discovered by Cloves in maize. Okay, and try to understand this way. See, again I'm drawing the root apex only. You have to match with your NCERT and you will find the same diagram from the NCERT. You check in your NCERT, you will find this inverted cup-like structure. This cup-like structure, which is known as root apical meristem. This is actually root apical meristem. Okay, and it is also known as quiescent center. In the center, this part, this is known as quiescent center, not full root apical meristem. In the center, it is known as quiescent center, and it will having very low amount of mitotic activity because it is waiting. If suppose any damage happen, then it will come actively. I hope you are able to understand. Let me highlight it with another color. This is the quiescent center in the root apical meristem, which is inverted cup-like structure. Is it clear? So I hope this topic is clear to you. Now see beta, what is difference in the vegetative shoot apex and reproductive shoot apex? How they are leaf primordia and all things are organized. See here, this is your vegetative shoot apex. Right now I'm drawing it. This is axillary bud and this is leaf primordia. Okay. Check once again. This is again I'm drawing axillary bud and again leaf primordia. This side also. Okay, now you do one thing, match with your NCERT. Diagram given on the page 85. You are finding this is a shoot apex, apical meristem. And this part is known as summit. And check, this is a leaf primordia labeling. This is leaf primordia. The shoot apex is covered with the help of leaf primordia. And these are the axillary bud. Axillary bud are nothing, they are the part of the apical meristem which are left behind. Okay, it is there in the NCERT also. 85 page, you will go and you will find during the formation of leaf and elongation of stem, some cells left behind from the shoot apical meristem, they are forming axillary bud. Is it clear? So now this side area, this area of the side, this area is known as flank. Okay, but this side area is known as flank. And this side area also, this we'll call it as flank. So it means center is known as summit and on the side we call it flank. So can I say in vegetative shoot apex is more active on the side, more active on flank side? More active on flank side, why? Because here it is producing the axillary bud and it is producing the leaf primordia. Is it clear? But in case of the reproductive apex, check, the summit will become flat. Check, it will become flat. Okay, this is the summit is becoming flat, and it is producing now. If you see in the center, you are finding it is having gynoecium, that is carpal ovary style stigma. Then you are having this stamen. This is your sepal, and this is again your, sorry, petal. This is petal and this is your sepal. So this is green color is sepal. This is colored is petal. This is your stamen, male part. Okay, this is your male part known as stamen. And this is your carpal, female part. Okay, so in case of the reproductive apex, reproduction means we want male and female part. So in this case, we are interested with the female part and we are interested with the male part. So I think so if you see both the types, whether male or female, aren't they born more in the summit area? So they are more active on the summit area, but less active on the flank area. Is it clear? So vegetative shoot apex is more active on flank side, and reproductive apex, we will say it is more active on summit side. So I hope this topic is clear with respect to meristematic tissues. We have classified the meristematic tissues based on different criterias. We have studied the shoot apex organization. Different scientists give different theories. Okay, and how the shoot apex is formed, it is covered by leaf primordia. Vegetative apex is more active on the summit, but more active on the flank, and reproductive apex is more active on the summit area. So I hope this topic is clear to you. Thanks for watching, and in the next video we'll be discussing about the permanent tissue.